Let's catch up with what's going on in the city of Newnan. Here's what happened at the July 22nd, 2025 City Council meeting.
The agenda included 19 items. The first two items on the agenda were the approval of the minutes from the June 17th City Council meeting and work session. Both items were unanimously approved by the City Council. The next four items were appointments to city boards and commissions. Councilmember Ray DeBose nominated Jamie Rutledge to the Cultural Arts Commission. Councilmember Rhodes Shell nominated Trent Finnegan to Keep Newnan Beautiful. Both nominations were unanimously approved by Council. Councilmember Cynthia Jenkins's appointments for the Christmas Commission, the Cultural Arts Commission, and Ethics Commission, and Mayor Brady's appointments to the Cultural Arts Commission have been postponed to the next meeting. In item G, a public hearing was held for an application for an alcohol beverage license by Line Creek Brewing Co., doing business as The Reserve at their 18 Savannah Street location for the purpose of adding distilled spirits. No one spoke for or against the application, and Council unanimously approved. The next item involved a public hearing regarding an update to the capital improvements element, including short-term work program of the City of Newnan 2021 to 2041 Comprehensive Plan. In 1990, the Georgia Development Impact Fee Act was enacted into law, setting rules for local governments that wish to set up impact fees for new developments in their municipal limits to assist in financing municipal capital projects. Any government that charges impact fees due to the Georgia Development Impact Fee Act must annually update their capital improvements element, a section of their government's comprehensive plan which lists projects deemed useful for 10 years or more that will be completed in the next 5 years. Projects like road and walking trail improvements and first responder equipment and vehicles. Within the capital improvements element is a section titled Short-Term Work Program, which highlights specific projects that will be completed in the next 5 years. See the list of projects in progress in the agenda packet in the link below. No one spoke for or against the application, and Council will vote for transmittal of the capital improvements element, including short-term work program, to the Three Rivers Regional Commission and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs on August 12th. The following item involved amending the 2024 City Budget American Rescue Plan Act budget lines due to late invoices received and additional approved expenditures that were unexpected when the budget was initially created. The original ARPA budget did not include the lines Other Improvements and Professional Services. The amendments would create the two lines in the 2024 budget. $262,000 for Other Improvements, where actual expenses are $253,499, which went to improvements to the city's emergency siren system and City Hall improvements, and $904 for Professional Services, which went to legal fees and services for conceptual design. Council unanimously approved the amendments. After the Georgia House of Representatives adopted House Bill 581, local municipalities were given the opportunity to opt out of the Floating Homestead Act, an act that offers certain tax benefits to people who live in the properties that they own. See more information in the link in the description below. However, for those municipalities that didn't opt out, they were given the authority to call for a referendum to create an additional 1-cent sales tax, referred to as the Floating Local Option Sales Tax, or FLOST, in the November 4th, 2025 election. If passed, the sole purpose of FLOST would be to reduce and potentially eliminate ad valorem or property taxes, and it would increase sales tax to 8% if passed in Coweta County. Before Council was an intergovernmental agreement between City of Newnan, Coweta County, and all other municipalities in the county on how finances would be divided if FLOST passes in November. Being the county seat, meaning that the City of Newnan is the largest municipality in Coweta County, the City of Newnan would receive 29.11% of the finances received through FLOST, if passed in November. Council unanimously approved the agreement. Mayor Brady asserted that the city will provide public education sessions throughout the fall prior to the election to discuss the potential impact of FLOST. The next item was regarding a resolution authorizing the City of Newnan to participate in an amicus brief in the Chang versus City of Milton case, pending before the Georgia Supreme Court. In November 2016, Joshua Chang, a college student, was killed in a car accident when his car struck a concrete planter located on the shoulder of Batesville Road after evidence seems to suggest he swerved to avoid an animal. His parents sued the City of Milton for negligence and nuisance. The jury found the City of Milton liable, awarding the Chang family $30 million. The case went to the Georgia Court of Appeals in 2024, and the court agreed with the initial findings of the original trial. Currently, the case is now pending in the Georgia Supreme Court. An amicus brief is a legal document submitted to the court saying that you are not a part of the case, but you have a vested interest in the outcome. The resolution before Council stated that the city would like the outcomes of the case to be reversed, siding with the City of Milton for the benefit of municipalities in future court proceedings in the state of Georgia. Council unanimously approved the resolution. In the next item, Council discussed an order and resolution to acquire property by condemnation for the purposes of building a roundabout at the intersection of Stillwood Drive and Newnan Crossing Boulevard. Condemnation is a status of a piece of property intended for seizure by a municipality. A property can only be condemned by a municipality for the purposes of roadways for public use. Once a property is labeled as condemned, the property owner, if known, will be informed by the courts, and then the owner can enter into price negotiations with the municipality. For more information, see Official Code of Georgia Annotated Section 32, 3, 4 through 19. Funds from the 2019 SPLOST program have been allocated for this roundabout. Assistant City Manager Haskell Craver stated that negotiations with the property owner have not been fruitful so far, and the resolution and order of condemnation are only for an if-needed contingency in the negotiations. Council unanimously approved the order and resolution. Item M was a consideration of a contract with Piedmont Paving, Inc. for the roundabout referenced in item L. Bids were received at Newnan City Hall on June 12, 2025. Piedmont Paving, Inc. offered the lowest bid, and city staff found them to be responsive. Piedmont Paving, Inc. offered construction costs of $1,451,206.68. Integrated Science and Engineering, the design firm for the roundabout, recommended Piedmont Paving, Inc., and they will act as the construction management for the project for $34,020. The area of the project is in Georgia Power's jurisdiction, and they have determined the initial cost of lighting for the roundabout would be $83,500 for startup and $441.48 a month for power and service. Councilmember Dustin Kritko inquired about the design of the lampposts in the upcoming roundabout and if they will be uniform with the other City of Newnan light fixtures. City Director of Engineering Michael Clark affirmed that they would be in line with other light fixtures in other city-developed roundabouts. Councilman Kritko also inquired about the pricing Piedmont Paving provided being significantly lower than other bids, and Mr. Clark confirmed that the expenses were genuine in the line item costs of their services. Council unanimously approved the contract. Item N was a public hearing regarding an annexation request for the development of 61 single-family detached homes. This item was brought before Council at the March 25, 2025 Council meeting and referred to the Planning Commission. The owner of the property at tax parcel 073B010-033 and 032 is requesting a rezoning of 010 from General Commercial District to Urban Residential Single-Family Dwelling High Density District, and the annexation of a portion of 033 and a portion of 032 to be zoned as Urban Residential Single-Family Dwelling High Density District. The reason for the annexations only being specified portions is due to Georgia law not allowing the landlocking of county properties by local municipalities. If the entire tax parcels were annexed, county islands would be created surrounded by the City of Newnan. The 61 homes would be both 1- and 2-story buildings between 2,000 and 3,200 square feet and would cost between $450,000 and $620,000. The applicant proffered the following conditions: 1. Masonry and hardy board construction and accents. 2. Develop and build to city's RU7 standards, lot sizes, and setbacks. 3. Single-family residence to exceed 2,000 square feet. 4. 1- and 2-story detached. Offered fee simple sale. 5. The development will be limited to 61 lots. 6. Product shall be consistent with elevations included with this application. The Planning Commission voted to recommend the annexation and rezoning under the following conditions. 1. Developers work with the planning and beautification staff on State Route 34 screening. 2. Developers shall maintain 30 to 40-foot buffers between the development and adjoining cashioned green properties. A fence shall be installed for screening purposes. 3. The project will meet with all city requirements, including the tree conservation and land ordinance, and be consistent with the concept plan, density, project data, amenities, proffered conditions, and elevations provided as a part of the applications. 4. The development will be limited to 61 units. 5. A final plat will be provided reflecting the combination of all tracts. Councilmember Jenkins mentioned that during discussions about future housing plans in Newnan, there was a need for more affordable housing, and allowing this development would be missing the point of their discussions on the topic. The representative of the project responded by noting that when the land was originally annexed, it was zoned as a commercial area not intended for housing, so the development of that land into housing wouldn't have been a part of that discussion of affordable housing, and that this project is what works for the land. A resident who lives near the land in question came forward to speak about the development. While not opposed to the development, he stated that he would like to see some fencing separating the development from other homes to maintain privacy. The representative was amenable to amend the proposal to read that there would be 35 feet of undisturbed area to buffer the communities. Council unanimously approved the Planning Commission report, and the annexation request was approved with the amendment in a 6-to-1 vote with Councilmember Jenkins dissenting. At the April 15, 2025 Council meeting, due to requests from Council during their spring retreat, they requested city staff draft amendments for 3 items. First, an amendment to increase the amount of model homes in new subdivisions of the city from 1 to 3, since Article 2 of the city's zoning ordinance requires new subdivisions to have at least 3 styles of homes. Second was the development of an ordinance to regulate short-term vacation rentals. This amendment was discussed in 2018, but Council decided at the time not to pursue it. Since then, short-term vacation rentals have increased in the city, and Council is considering if it would be beneficial to regulate them to protect the neighbors, as well as the safety of visitors. The third item included the development of an ordinance to allow for backyard chickens. Staff brought drafts of the first 2 items to be addressed at a public hearing. See the details of the drafted language in the agenda packet in the link below. Mayor Brady requested that, due to the lengthy discussions needed on these topics and the discussions regarding other agenda items, the public hearing for this be postponed until the August 12, 2025 City Council meeting. Council unanimously voted to postpone this agenda item. Mayor Brady then recused himself from the next 2 items, since, as a real estate agent, he has business relationships with individuals involved. Councilmember Jim Thomason, acting as Mayor Pro Tem, proceeded to run the meeting. Item P is a second reading of the rezoning request of 147 Temple Avenue that was discussed in the June 17, 2025 Council meeting. While the city updated the verbiage in the Code of Ordinances a year ago to no longer require a second reading for amendments, the city's zoning ordinances still require a second reading of any amendments that are not approved unanimously by Council. Just to recap the rezoning, Templar Development Group LLC requested 147 Temple Avenue be rezoned from CUN, Urban Neighborhood Commercial District, to PDR, Planned Development Residential, for the purposes of building 32 housing units. Last month, Council unanimously approved this rezoning, but until the zoning ordinance can be amended, City staff recommended a second reading of this rezoning request as well as the following item. Council unanimously approved the rezoning request. Item Q is a second reading of the rezoning request of 521 and 531 Newnan Crossing Bypass that was discussed in the June 17, 2025 Council meeting. Again, due to the zoning ordinance not being amended to no longer require a second reading for amendments that were passed but without a unanimous vote, City staff recommended this request be reread by Council to ensure the validity of the approval. A quick recap. WP South Acquisitions LLC requested 521 and 531 Newnan Crossing Bypass be rezoned from CCS, Community Shopping Center, to MXD, Mixed Use Development, to create 7 townhomes, 274 multifamily apartments, and 7,700 square feet of commercial space. The residential apartments would cost between $1,500 and $2,750 a month to rent. Council approved the request in a 4-2 vote, with Councilmembers Jenkins and Dustin Carrico dissenting, with Councilmember Jenkins stating that the city should be looking into having developers come into the city to build more affordable housing, not high price point apartments. The rezoning request was approved with Councilmembers Jenkins and Carrico dissenting. At this point, Mayor Brady resumed the meeting. In December 2024 and January 2025, Council discussed necessary stormwater improvements needed for Woodland Drive. In January 2025, Council voted for Columbia Engineering to design the stormwater improvements and offer recommendations for work in the future. Their estimate of the cost of the improvements is $209,345, which would be covered by SPLOST funding if Council voted to move forward with the project. This item was a consideration of whether to move forward or not with the design elements provided by Columbia Engineering. If Council approved the consideration, they would request bids from firms for price estimates for the work needed. If denied, the item wouldn't move forward. Council unanimously approved the consideration to accept bids for the project. Council then went into closed executive session to discuss real estate and legal issues. Executive session is a portion of the meeting allowed by state government for local governments to discuss items pertaining to already owned city real estate, lawsuits involving the City of Newnan, and personnel issues. After executive session, Council voted on an intergovernmental agreement with the Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, regarding 57 East Broad Street. The future of 57 East Broad Street, a property owned by the City of Newnan since 2020, has been an ongoing conversation with City Council the past few years. Several work sessions were held and citizen input was solicited. Being a city entity, the city can only sell property in one of 3 ways: through sealed bids, public auction, or by transfer to a legal authority. The Newnan Downtown Development Authority, being a legal authority recognized by the state government of Georgia under the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, Section 3642(1), can enter into a typical real estate transaction. The intergovernmental agreement would transfer authority of 57 East Broad Street to the Downtown Development Authority to allow progress to be made in redeveloping the property. The DDA will finalize purchase and sale agreements with Caldwell Development Investments and Red Hills Hospitality Group, finalizing to develop the 5.59 acre into a mixed-use commercial and residential area that includes restaurants, a food hall, office spaces, retail stores, residential lofts, and a 125-room Marriott hotel. Council unanimously approved the intergovernmental agreement.
Thanks for being here and engaging with your local government. Links to the agenda packet can be found in the description below. The next City Council meeting will take place August 12, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. For more information, follow the City of Newnan on their website, newnan.ga.gov, as well as follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thanks very much. See you next time.